Hello, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at my GPU collection, and these are all GPUs that I have accumulated over the past few months because I have a buying problem, and who knows, maybe in the future I'll become a hoarder. But anyways, we're going to have these separated in two categories, the old GPUs and the modern GPUs, and we're going to first do the older GPUs because maybe you find more interest in those, I don't know, probably. And then we're going to take a look at the more modern GPUs. So, these are going to be categorized from least interesting to most interesting, or something like that. I don't know. Figure it out as we go. But, yeah, without further ado, let's begin. And then in this video, I'm also going to talk about what my plans are for these GPUs. So, let's start off with the first GPU. This right here is a really old ISA crap 2D card, but this is a Cirrus Logic something or other. I don't know. I haven't bothered to look it up to see if there's a exact model. Here we go. It's a BR-I48610. I don't know if that's the actual model number now, but it's just a basic 2D VGA card, and I got this from an old, I believe it was an old digital PC that didn't end up working, so I took the GPU out of it, and I believe that's what this GPU is from. Might be from something else, I have no clue, but I did not buy this GPU, so I technically got it for free. So my plan for this GPU is, I really don't know. I guess if I come across an old AT motherboard that doesn't have any PCI slots, then I guess I'll just use this card as a testing card. So let's move on to the next one. Next is this graphics card, and probably just from looking at it, you'd have no idea what it is. I mean, on the back, it just says ATI Radeon copyright of 2000. But basically, despite it saying it's a ATI Rage card, as you can see, ATI Rage Cedar, despite it saying that, it is actually a Radeon 7200. And what's interesting is that if you Google this part number right up here in the corner, you actually are greeted with an ATI Rage 16 megabyte graphics card. If you Google this model number right here, the N625, you're also greeted with a ATI Rage 16 megabyte. But I downloaded a Windows 98 ATI driver pack, and it turns out that this is a Radeon 7200. I would have never guessed. I don't know how good these things are, but this has some, I think it's on its way out. Basically, when you first turn on the computer, the graphics card starts to Basically, once you turn on the computer, the graphics card starts to artifact. However, after about a minute or so of it being on and I guess it warming up, it goes away. And I even stressed this GPU with a couple benchmarks and a round of Need for Speed, and the graphics card works perfectly fine. So I guess it's just on a cold boot, it'll just not work correctly. It's weird, but it's on its way out. And my plans for this, I'm selling this to a friend who can probably use this for a Dell or whatever. The next GPU is this. So this is a Radeon 9200. Does it say? Yeah, right here. A 9200. I don't know what the S means, if it means anything special or not, but this is a, yeah, this is a Radeon 9200 with apparently an aftermarket chipset cooler on it, because it has a bunch, it even has a brand on it. But yeah, this is a stupid Molex thing. It had a fan at one point, but I don't know, maybe it died and they put on an aftermarket thing. But yeah, this thing's pretty crusty, needs to be cleaned. But this is a Radeon 9200, and I don't know what I'm going to do with this card. Maybe if I put together a cheap-ish Windows 98 gaming computer to sell, then I could use this graphics card in that. But let's move on to the next card. The next graphics card is this, and this is the only old school graphics card that I'm glad to have. All the other ones are kind of they're kind of cool to have, but this one I'm glad to have. This absolute beast is a Radeon 9800 Pro All-in-Wonder. So it's an All-in-Wonder 9800 Pro, and this thing, it's an absolute chunker. It's pretty heavy for an old school graphics card. Needs a 4-pin floppy for the power, and yeah, it's weird that it only has DVI. I guess AMD assumed that the future would be going towards DVI instead of VGA. But yeah, this card thankfully works, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. I might sell it on because it is worth quite a bit. It's even worth a little more since it's all-in-wonder, but I might sell this on. I might use it for my own personal Windows 98 rig, or maybe even an early XP rig, because I did want to make an early XP rig, but I feel like there are better GPUs for that. But hey, this is pretty cool to just have. So next is this card. This is really heavy actually, and it's a Radeon 1900 XT, or I think the full model is X1900 XT. I don't know what you'd use this graphics card for nowadays, maybe XP Retro Machine that has PCI Express, but I mean this cooler, man, it's very different from modern coolers. Most blower fans are all exposed, but this is actually, it's designed to where it all comes out right here, and this needs a 6-pin power connector, and the last 4 GPUs I got in a lot untested for 40 bucks. So technically I paid 10 bucks for this X1900, this 9800 Pro, which is a sweet deal for 10 bucks, especially since it works. This 9200 for 10 bucks, which works, but you know, it's not super exciting. And this partially working Radeon 7200 for 10 bucks. This one was hilarious to watch it work and then not work, and yeah. As for plans with this card, this is going also to a friend, and this is the same friend that's buying the Radeon 7200. They have an XPS, a Dell XPS 410. If you watch my old videos, you might remember it from a year ago when we were trying to get that, when me and my friend were trying to get that Dell XPS 410 for sale, which still has impressively. And since this requires a 6-pin and the XPS has a 6-pin power connector, this hopefully is an upgrade over the 7900 GS. I really don't know, but that's what we'll find out whenever I go over to his house. And finally, for my old school graphics cards, I have this. This is an HD 3650 AGP, and I bought this for $35, free shipping from Poland, which about a year ago was the cheapest 3650 that was AGP. And this card, you can make music with it. Anyway, so this card, it needs a Molex power connector. But yeah, this card works, and my plans for it, I don't know. Oh, don't drop it again. My plan I really have for this card, other than to sell it, is I wanted to do a video where I try to get the slowest system, like the oldest system, to be able to run Windows 10, and I think this GPU would be a good competitor because it technically has drivers up to Windows, I think 7 or 8, so it would work on 10 with some trickery. And I have the motherboard that I want to use, which is a socket 775 PAIM-4 motherboard, and the only problem is that I don't have one of the Pentium 4s that supports Windows 10, basically a 64-bit Pentium 4. I do not have one of those, and I tried 32-bit Windows 10, and the Pentium 4s that I have don't have the right instructions or whatever for Windows 10 to work. But I'm hoping eventually I'll end up getting a 64-bit Pentium 4 so that I could use 64-bit Windows 10. So this card's pretty cool. I have no idea what these are worth nowadays, but I hope it's worth more than 30 bucks I paid. So for all of you retro people, that's about it for the retro GPUs. If you don't care about the modern ones, then you can just stop here. But we're going to move on to the modern GPUs. So, I got it in frame. Well, first is this the dinky thing. So this is an HD 5450, and I got this from an old HP Elite that I upgraded the graphics on. I upgraded to a 7570, which you wouldn't think would be that much for the improvement, but it actually was. And this actually came from the same HP Elite that I got that 240 gig ADATA SSD from that I ended up killing like a week later. However, thanks to the incredible ADATA warranty, I got this fancy thing, which is actually a 256 gig drive. So I guess for killing my drive or killing itself, not quite sure, I got an extra few gigs of space. But this, maybe they don't make the SU635 anymore, I'm not quite sure, but I got the SU800, and I just got this, took this thing out of its package. Actually, I haven't used it yet, but the problem is that I don't know if I want to go through the hassle of reinstalling everything, because I currently have everything installed on a 90 gigabyte SSD, and then all the games are on an external hard drive. But yeah, so maybe this will go into a laptop or something, I don't know. And then as for that Hyundai, they did accept the warranty for it. I just need to pack it up and ship it out. So plans for this dinky 5450. Whoa. I just realized it only has two little push pin things that hold on the dinky cooler. It's not, oh my god, don't drop it again. It's not even worth changing the thermal paste in this thing because it doesn't even get hot. Like, you could run this thing with no thermal paste and just this cooler and it wouldn't get above like 50 degrees. But as for plans for this, this is going to the same friend who is buying that X1900 XT and the Radeon 7200. He has a couple of Dell small form factor systems. If I remember correctly, he has a GX620 with a Pentium D, which I think this would be good for that system because basically it'll bring it into the modern world and actually have it be usable. Put in something like a 64 or 120 gig SSD into it, and it's a completely modern, well, I wouldn't say modern, but it's a completely usable office box with this 5450. I believe he also has a Optiplex 790 with a second generation i3 that was also featured in the last video that I did. It is at my friend's house, and I think if he still has that, oh my god, the cooler's coming off, look at that. Can you see the die? You can kind of see it. He has an Optiplex 790 with a second generation i3, and this could be good for that and turn that into a little office box, but honestly I don't think this thing's much better than the integrated graphics on those second gen CPUs. Plus this thing has, it's a little whack with the DVI connector. I don't know what's going on with that, it's a little out of shape, but it does still work and it does still output great. So yeah, next card. So now we are getting on to the big modern big boy GPUs. So let's start with the least interesting one, which is this R9 270X. This is still a pretty decent GPU for playing 1080p games at like low settings, maybe medium, and getting a definite 60 FPS experience, as long as you have something like a second gen i5 or better. And this GPU I got for $35 untested, and it ends up working great. So plans for this, I don't know, I'll probably just stick it in a cheap-ish budget gaming PC and sell it on. So I may do a video on how well this R9 270X performs in 2020, so stay tuned for that if I run out of content to make. Next is this EVGA GTX 650 Ti boost. I don't know what the boost means. I think it just means it has more CUDA cores, or maybe it runs at a faster clock speed out of the box. But this is a terrible blower style card, and this thing was just absolutely nasty when I got it. This I got for $40 untested, and it ended up working. Plans for this probably the same as the 270X. Actually, I was originally going to pair that 650 Ti with this motherboard combo I got, which is a G3258 and an H81 motherboard pulled out of a pre-build I bought. Turns out that the G3258 is doo-doo and should probably be upgraded to something like an i5 4570. And actually, technically, if you don't count the... I apologize for that. Apparently, me moving the tripod around thinks that I tapped the back of the phone to open up my web browser. Yes, I have that set up. Anyways, so if you don't count the Radeon 5450, the 650 Ti is actually the weakest GPU that I have. I used to have a 560 Ti, but that is gone now. Actually, I take back what I said, because this absolute chonker is actually the weakest GPU I have. This actually performs similar to a 560 Ti, but look how I'm holding it. This is the HD 6950, if you did not see my video on it. Yeah, apparently I tried to make a thumbnail for it with text, but apparently the text just got cut off, and well, I don't care enough to fix it. Plans for this, I mean, for how huge it is, and for the performance in 2020, it's probably better off just selling it, because if I put this in a system, not only is it going to need a beefy PSU, because it takes like 200 watts of power, it's also going to need a GPU sag bracket, which is another $10, because, well, this thing has an absolute sag, and if you want to see that sag, then you should go watch my video I did on this 6950. So now we're going to be going for an absolute chonker to this teeny tiny little thing. This is a Sapphire Compact R9 280X. It's either 280X or 285. Which one is it? 285, okay. So this is a Radeon R9 285. Why there's a 285, I don't know. Like, it would have made more sense to just go from 280 to 280X and then to the 290 series. This card's really old, so I'm not going to question it, but this is actually a pretty compact card, and I actually quite like it. It's pretty compact for how much performance it gives, and despite the tiny dinky cooler, it does do pretty well at cooling this 285, even without changing the thermal paste. And is this little fidget button. I don't feel like looking at how much I paid for it, but plans for this, I have a friend who desperately needs a graphics card upgrade. He's currently running a GTS 450 with an i5 2400, and the GTS 450 can barely get 30 FPS in like modern games, so this thing would be a huge upgrade, and he is paying for it the same price that I bought it for. So alright, the second to last graphics card is this blower fan type deal is a Radeon 7970, and I had to change the thermal paste and of course clean out because these always get nasty. But this is a 7970, I believe this is a 3 gig card, 3 gig, yeah. And this is an XFX blower card, and this card is actually still pretty capable. It's around the same performance of a 1650, I believe. It's maybe only about 5% worse than a 1650, 5 to 10% about. And plans for this, the same friend that's buying all those other GPUs off me wanted to use this graphics card in an Intel Atom computer, so that's going to be a fun video. And we're going to have to do some janky measures to be able to get that to work. After that video is made, probably just throwing this into like a 3rd or 4th gen based system and calling it a day. Alright, well, I'm upset now because I just ended up losing a bidding war on a untested mystery spec PC that apparently didn't work. And I had like a 780, had a Asus Sabertooth motherboard. It was going to be a great video, but no, I had to get outbidded last second. Anyways, because I'm mad, I'm finishing this up quick. So this is my final graphics card. This is a 770. I paid $55 for it, and again, untested, and it ended up working. And just had to get a quick look at the model number for you. And then, really, 770 is only 2 gigs. It's kind of depressing, but plans for this GPU probably the same as the 7970, just sticking in a 3rd gen or 4th gen system. Or I do have a Z170 board that needs a CPU, so if I get like a 6th generation CPU, then I might put this graphics card or the 7970 in there because they both perform similarly. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you notice, I have this Dell monitor right here. And this is for like if I'm going to be testing a computer or something in this area, I'm going to be using this monitor. This is a pretty dinky 15-inch 1024 by 768 monitor, but I have no use for it. I don't want to get rid of it because it works and it actually looks pretty well since it's an ultra sharp. But if I'm, say, trying to repair a computer, which I would have loved to do for a video, but you know, I got outbidded. But if I was to, say, repair a computer here, then I would just point the camera at this monitor instead of having to use the VGA off of my main monitor. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. It needs a Molex power connector.